Hello guys, welcome to the video. So in this one we're going to animate UI. So it looks a bit more alive and dynamic because as of now UI is functional, but we don't even really know if button is clickable. So that's what we need to improve. I have a couple of ideas for this and we're going to start with movement of UI elements. There are two ways to approach this. One of them would be to create a single script that would be responsible for moving UI elements when we need to, but that would make system a bit rigid because we would not be able to set up individual behavior for these UI elements. So what I want to do instead is to make one script, and that script will have a function, and when we want to move a UI object, we can just pass object to that script, and that script will move the object we want to move. And if we want to have some individual behavior, if we want to have something specific, then we can just simply make another script. So that's my idea, and that's what we're going to do. Let's make a script UI animator. This one will be responsible for animating different UI elements. Let's open Canvas and let's put it over here. And in this case, any UI element will be able to use this script at any point. We'll just have to type get component in parent and that's it. Now let's go inside of this script. And for starters, let's make movement. So what we need is a coroutine, same as before. It's very similar to what we had with other coroutines that doing something during some period of time. But this time we're going to use rect transform, this component over here. So that's why we need a new method for this. All right. Let's make private IEnumerator. And we're going to name it as change position coroutine. Inside we want to have rect transform, as I mentioned before. Then we need offset. So this will dictate by how much we're moving the object. Let's do vector 3 offset. And I think we need duration. So I'm going to do float duration over here. Very nice. Now let's do float time equals to 0. This will be used for tracking the time. And then we're going to need vector 3 initial position to have starting position of the rect transform. And we're going to use anchored position. And I guess we did not use this before, but all you should know is that it's the same as using transform.position. But because we working with UI elements, we need to do rect transform.anchored position. We also need a target position. So we're going to type target position equals to initial position plus offset. And then we're going to run a while loop, same as we did before. Rect transform anchored position equals to vector 3.lerp from initial position to target position, and time will be divided by duration. Then over here we need to do time plus equals time.delta time. And we need to do yield return null. So it works with every frame because yield return null waits for the next frame. Then after while loop is done, we can just snap the position by making it equals to target position. And that's it. Now we need a public method that would run this coroutine, so we can use UI animator, public void change position. And here, instead of taking rect transform, I want to use transform because, let me type transform here and I'll explain. Because when we want to move the object, we don't have rect transform every time, and we would have to get component of rect transform from the object every time. But transform can be used without using a component. So next time we call this method over here, we can simply pass transform of the game object. And inside of this method, I'll use transform to get rect transform, like this. Just like this. And then we're going to do start coroutine, change position, and we pass rect transform over here. Now we also need offset, and we need float duration. And this time I'll give it a default value. But if you want to have different value, you can just write it there. So offset and duration, just like that. Perfect. Now it is ready to be used. And we're going to try with a wave timer first, so you can understand how it's going to work. Let's go to UI in-game. And over here, we enable in-game object. So now I want to make it pretty, and now I wanted to use animation. First, we need component of a UI animator. We're gonna do private UI animator, and we're gonna open awake. And in the awake, we're gonna do UI animator equals to get component in parent of UI animator. And because each and every UI element is child of a canvas, it will be always easy for us to find UI animator. Now that we have it, we can go here and we can expand the method. This will be commented for now. And now for that method to work, we need transform, offset, and duration. I think we'll keep duration at default, but for the offset and transform, we need to get them. To make it easier to read, I'm gonna do this. Transform wave timer transform is equals to wave timer.text transform parent. For the offset, we need to do vector 3, offset equals to new vector 3, 0, and we need only y because this object is moving vertically. Where is it? Let me find it. We need to find this wave timer and we want to place it above. First, we want to see position y here, so it's -13. Then we want to place it above, sort of to hide it, and we can see 153. So basically offset is 140. So we'll move like that by 140, right? Something like this should do. So we could use a hard-coded value, but instead I want to make a variable that we can adjust. So I'm gonna do serialize field, private float, wave timer offset, and let's go ahead over here and type it in, wave timer offset. And z can be 0, so we don't need to type it. This is how it's going to be used. Let's try this. Let's do UI animator, change position of wave timer transform with an offset, just like that. It is not finished, but let's see this as it is right now. Let's go back. Let's move this wave timer above, like so. And then over here, let's do offset -140. Now, if I'm not wrong, once timer is ready to show up, it's gonna move down. Let's see. Let's wait for a couple of enemies to go to the castle. And boom. Very nice and pretty. Now we need to adjust offset a little bit, and also we want to be able to move it back. Sorry. To be able to move it back, we need to turn this value from negative to positive. We can do it easily by using enable boolean. We can make float y offset equals to, and over here we can ask enable, then use -wave timer offset. And if no, then use wave timer offset. Basically, it will be like use negative or positive value according to the boolean we pass in into parentheses. All right, now let's go here. And let's use y offset over here, like that. And this will make it positive or negative. I think we discussed this before, but just in case, I'll explain once more. When we type in things like this, we sort of asking a question, and then if answer is yes, then we would use this variable. If answer is no, then we would use this variable. This is how it works. So this one will be equals to this or this according to the answer over here. This is sort of an like a quick if statement. This is what it does. Let's save this and let's go back and try again. All right, now it's supposed to work. We only need to adjust wave timer offset value over here, and it can be easily done by just checking by how much this one should move down, because this element over here, wave position, supposed to have same position y as health points or currency UI. We can see it is 13 over here, and wave timer at the moment has 151. So I'm gonna open calculator. Yeah, I'm that lazy, and I'm gonna do 151 plus whatever value I have on other UI elements, and that is 13. So plus 13 is 164. This is the offset we're going to use. Gonna go to in-game UI, and I'm gonna put this 164 over here. And now we can easily check this. let's go to play mode. The timer will slide in when it's needed, when enemies are entering the castle. Let's go. Okay, 1, 2, timer. Nice, it is on the same level as other UI elements. My line is not very straight, but believe me, it is. Okay, it is. Now, let's check this by clicking the button. Will it go back? Yeah, it goes back. Very fun and dynamic way. I like it. Now let's go and check this again, but this time I will not touch the button. I'll just wait for it. It is kind of long, so maybe I'll cut the video. Okay, I'll cut it up to 4 or 5 seconds. All right, there it goes. 3, 2, 1, and slide back. Perfect. Super nice. Love it. Now, lastly, since we have the functionality, let's do this for build buttons over here. Actually, in the future, this build button is supposed to appear when you click one of the tiles, when you're ready to build something. That's my design idea. But even for that, we just need a method that would enable these buttons. So we're going to make a method and we're going to enable buttons by pressing a key on the keyboard, and later on we can easily switch it. Let's select this build buttons holder UI and let's make a script for it. It's going to be UI build buttons. Very nice. Let's go back. Let's put this on build buttons holder. Now we have it. I'm going to move it above so it's easier to find. And let's go inside of this script. Now in this script, I want just to move the object with the help of UI animator. So I'm going to do private UI animator. Let me do anim. Okay, then in the awake, we're going to do UI anim equals to get component in parent of UI animator. Very nice. And now we need one single method that would enable or disable build UI. In our case, it's going to be not enabled, but moved. Let's make public void show build buttons. And I want to explain how it's going to work. So we're going to do update. And in the update, we need this. If input get key down, key code B as for build, then we need to call this method show build buttons. And I'm going to make a public boolean, public bool is active, just so you can see it. Then we're going to go over here and we're going to do is active equals to not is active. This will make it work as a switch. Okay, let's go back and let's just test it. I'm going to go to play mode. And over here you can see a boolean, and every time I'm clicking B on the keyboard, it becomes true or false. Now that we have this boolean, we can decide if we want to move this up or down. That's the idea. Same as before, we need Y offset. So I'm gonna make this private. And I'm going to make serialized field. Private float, Y offset. Maybe position offset, Y position offset. And then inside of this method, after we have is active, we're going to do something similar to what we did over here. It's going to be basically the same. Let's go back and do float new offset, or maybe Y offset equals to is active. Then we need to use Y position offset. If it's not active, then we're going to use minus position offset, because if it's not active, we're going to move it down. That's the idea. We also need a vector 3 target position, so I'm going to do vector 3. How did we name it there? It was offset, just that. Okay, let's do offset equals to new vector 3, 0 on the Y, 0 on the X, and Y offset. And Z can be 0, so I'm not going to type it. Then we're going to use UI anim, change position of this transform with the offset. Just like that. Simple as it is. There's something else we can improve, but let's look at that later. As of now, let's test this one. We're going to go back. Let's take this object, let's move it down, and now it has minus 240. All of that because center position is at the bottom. The pivot point is at the bottom. If you like, you can change pivot point by holding shift over here. But I think the bottom pivot point is fine. Why not? So we can see now when it's below the screen, it is 245, minus 245. And we want it to be here. Like that. So it is 0 after all. Maybe for that we can use 245 offset. Let's go ahead and try. I'm gonna go to play mode. I'm gonna click B and build menu appears. Very nice. I'm gonna click B again and it goes away. Perfect. I love it so much. Very dynamic. We also have to do this. I'm gonna show you my prototype. So here, when I'm putting mouse over the button, it goes up a little bit. So player knows what he's about to choose. Over here, look at this. But this will be done a bit later on, right? As of now, we did perfect job. Let's go to the next video.